So you have education slash like activism, right, for young people.
The coolest volunteerism possible.
Excuse me, coolest volunteerism possible. Animals and Peace Corps. Now, we were joking earlier, like I had all these misconceptions around Peace Corps and like how bad the experiences can be. But meeting Byron, I'm like, oh, you guys are like super happy. Who knew?
Never happy.
But I would love to just say, like, you guys are like doing it already. So how in the world did you get here? Like, how did you actually make a career out of doing good?
Okay. I took a non-traditional path, so unfortunately when people are like, tell me how to do it, I can't be like, go and get your master's in international development, because I was going to get my master's in creative writing because I like writing short stories, so that's what I was doing, and then decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and I booked a one-way ticket to Laos where I had traveled before and fell in love with that country, so I decided to do that. On that airplane, I met the founder of the organization Pencils of Promise, and I ended up staying in Laos for 3.5 years. So it was fated. It was also the right timing of that organization. I had taught preschool. They had built one preschool. Now we have over 300 schools globally, but that was 5.5 years ago. There was one school. I was willing to work for free for a while and try and figure it out. So I just started doing it that way, and then just evolved through that process.
I love that you said non-traditional because I don't personally feel, at least being in the do-gooding space as long as I have, and you guys have been in much longer than I have. Like, I don't think there is a traditional path, and I think that's a huge misconception. Yeah, please, I'd love to hear from you guys as well.
Sure, I'll go, I guess. So I totally agree. I don't think there's one way to do it. So I actually went to business school, and I went because I wanted practical knowledge and I wanted to make a lot of money and then donate it. Realized once I got there after taking classes and going to clubs and listening to speakers that on a day-to-day, like, you know, there's very interesting problems to solve in the for-profit space. You know, how do you get this beer most efficiently from A to B? Super interesting. But realized that on a day-to-day, that's not what I wanted to solve. I wanted to solve problems that I knew would maximize impact versus profit. Which sort of led me to the intersection of doing good and doing business, so CSR and cause marketing. So sort of walked down that path for a while, but then sort of realized that similarly, like, I wouldn't be solving the problems I really wanted to be solving, and so I thought that the best way to do it would be to work for a nonprofit. I'd seen Aria Finger, who's the CEO of Do Something, speak at a club meeting my sophomore year and thought she was the coolest person alive. And so my junior year, realized she was taking a course, or teaching a course rather, at NYU, and rearranged my schedule and took it. Then ended up interning for her the summer after my junior year and was lucky enough to continue on full-time after I graduated.
Let's start in 1996, but I promise it won't be that long. I took a very circuitous path to where I am now. I was working at Nickelodeon. I was hired as a Second Banana staff writer. I ended up being the head writer for their website, but I was unfulfilled.
Second banana?
And it just means you were this. There was another writer in front of me. That must be a term from the 80s. Second Banana. Number 2.
Write that down.
Yeah, write that down in your nostalgia book. Throwback Thursday. So I was unfulfilled because I wanted to do something more, and I kept writing about Tommy and Chucky and Angelica over and over and over again. A few years later, I got a job at Time for Kids, and I realized that you could be doing more for kids than entertaining them. You could be educating them. But I was still working in online. I ended up working for websites for PBS and Time Inc. Interactive. I ended up working with Bill Moyers. I worked for a little bit with David Brancaccio and Keith Olbermann. Story for another day. And eventually, I decided what I was best at was communications, and I love the idea of taking an important message and sharing that in a very impactful way. And I loved animals, and I always wanted to be a speechwriter. So one day I was on LinkedIn, and I saw this opening at the ASPCA for a speechwriter, which I'd never done before. It was not even on my resume, but I had been teaching public speaking for about 8 years. So I pitched myself to that job, which I saw as my dream job, with the animals, the writing, and the expression and what I do best. And they took a chance on me. They gave me a few writing samples to do. They liked me. And the rest is a year and a half of history, so that's where I am now.
And so you were actually were you doing production at all? Or were you with like Bill?
I was overseeing the digital space. So when Bill's show was Moyers and Company, I oversaw that website, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing, and I did that for Now on PBS as well.
Okay, cool.
For me, I think...
Was it Peace Corps? Is that where you started?
It is not. It is not, but it was close. Yeah. So I had been volunteering since I was a long time ago, and with that, I think one of the things that kind of helped me to see that I wanted to go in a direction where it would really help people was I was the president of my Black Student Alliance, or of our Black Student Alliance at the university that I went to, and so while I was doing that, it really helped me to see the passion that I had for different issues that dealt with, for one, people of color as well as volunteering. And so from that, it actually led me to wanting to think about doing something also in an atmosphere where I was able to learn another language. At the time, I spoke fluent Spanish. So that actually led me to the Peace Corps because I thought I would be in a country where I'd be able to speak Spanish all the time. That didn't happen.
Which country did you end up going to with your fluent Spanish?
So I ended up, I was fluent in Spanish, and I ended up in Lesotho, which is a country in the bottom of Africa where there is no Spanish spoken. Yeah. So, but yeah, just staying on the path of really wanting to make sure that I was doing the best that I could in helping others to want to better themselves and to better their community. So that's kind of how my path led me to the jobs and the career path that I've had in training and development, and now working for Peace Corps.
I am hearing from all of you guys that it took a lot of risk and that there is actually no path. There isn't, because almost everyone here, on a plane, like, just started
It's the wrong path too. I went to law school for 6 months and realized 6 months in it was the worst mistake I'd ever made in my entire life. And the easy thing to do would have been to stay in law school and finish it out. The hard thing to do was to leave and reimagine the trajectory of my professional life.
And that's kind of what I was starting to get at. It's just that, like, at least when I started, I got a lot of naysayers who were like, "You're crazy." I mean, you're fluent in Spanish, and you're going to, how do you say it?
Lesotho.
Lesotho. I keep wanting to say Lesotho. Anyway, it's spelled Lesotho, right?
Correct.
Okay, at least I got that part right. But anyway, like, I got a lot of haters. Did you guys get that? And what was sort of your response?
I just got a lot of like, oh, that's cute, or that's fun. And I'm like, no, it's actually not cute. It's I'm doing work. But yeah, I don't know. I think you just met it with like, oh yeah, let me take this as an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what I actually do. And it is really fun and amazing, and I love my job. But I wouldn't describe it as cute. So I would kind of help take that chance to educate people about the space and what I do and stuff.
Joel, what about you when you decided to quit law school?
Well, law school. Yeah, my parents were the most disappointed in that. 'Cause my brother was a doctor, and it only seemed natural that I would go through law school. They were only concerned that I had a paycheck every week, someplace that they recognized they could look up and was real. So they were just but I benefit from the support of my parents and the support of other people who encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do and make sense of it. It was easy to find people who hated law school, and lawyers, so that wasn't that difficult at all.
I think, so yeah, I think about, when I told people that I wanted to do Peace Corps, so for me, I'm from Las Vegas, and the one thing that me and my wife always say, it's very easy to make a living in Las Vegas with having either a high school diploma or a bachelor's degree. Having a bachelor's degree is kind of like, it puts you at another level. And it's because we're a service industry related city. So for me, it would have been very easy to stay in Las Vegas, to get a good job and to stay well connected, which we were and which I was. But I think what was important for me is knowing that we also wanted to do something outside of Las Vegas. And before me and my wife had met, I also really wanted to leave Las Vegas. So, I was also looking for opportunities that would lead me to something productive, something that would help me to where I could help others around me. And that was like the main thing I thought about, even when people were like, oh, well, why would you leave? You have it so easy here. You already have a job, or, you'll move up really quickly. I was like, that's not what I was thinking about at that time. I just wanted to do something that was different, something that was outside of Las Vegas, and something that would allow me to use the skills that I had been developing and would develop.
I love the audaciousness of all of you. Like and what? I'm just going to go do it anyway. And I think, again, when we're tackling issues like, education, for example, it just seems so mind-blowing. Is anybody else interested in education? in the room. Kudos to you guys, bless you guys, because when I try and wrap my mind around it, I don't even know where to begin. So, but I think that's the exciting part about wanting to pursue something and doing good, because you really are taking a stand up and you're saying like, okay, well, we're gonna figure it out as we move forward. Has there been anything like from your high school or your college experience or college years, and everyone here are in, mostly everyone is students now, like that really, you look back and you're like, man, that was so helpful for the work that I'm doing now? Whether that's like a mindset, a class, a person in your life, or
What's that thing called where you get part of your student aid to do a job? Yes. All my friends had work study that was like swipe a card or something. I'm sure you're familiar, like you're at the front desk, you do that. I, for some reason, took a job as a preschool teacher in Roxbury outside of Boston, which is like pretty extreme ghetto area in Boston, and it was a literacy training for 3 and 4-year-olds. So everyone else would be like, you know, hungover or studying or whatever, swiping cards. I would come back just like sobbing on the bus back. Like it was so intense. There's like, you know, these little kids who would be like, I don't want to go home. My dad hits me. And I'd be like, okay, well, that was a great story we read today. Like, I hope you can stay safe and I'll see you tomorrow. And I think just realizing that there was that, and that I couldn't necessarily do that job forever. That was kind of like, that was the biggest part I learned, that I maybe wasn't meant to be in the trenches in that way, because I wasn't ready enough for it, that I would cry every day on the way home, which is not really what you want for your career. But there's another path. At the end of the day, I had so much more purpose in what I was doing. And where everyone at the beginning of that semester would make fun of me because I was like, had to go trek out there on the bus and do this taxing thing. At the end of it, I was like, wow, how'd you get involved in that? I want to do that instead. Like, I'm tired of swiping cards at the elevator. Like, I would rather do something more meaningful. It was fun. Challenge.
In terms of mindset, I think 2 things I realized after I graduated. One was being very okay with falling in the minority. So I went to business school. A lot of my friends were thinking about recruiting for finance and consulting. I was convinced into it for this like fall of my senior year. Had a bit of a crisis. And I think it's just, you know, acknowledging that you're going to continually be around a different group of people, and you can't continue to like sort of adjust yourself to what everyone else is doing, because that group is going to keep changing, and then you have to keep changing with it. And also, like, ultimately, like, it's your day-to-day. I think also careers and jobs are, like, very much a part of who you are. Like, I think when you're a student, it's like, oh, where are you from? Like, what dorm do you live in? And then when you're in, like, the real world, if you will, you, like, meet someone at a bar, and they're like, oh, what do you do? And so, like, it becomes, like, who you are, your identity. And so you have to be very okay with what you're doing and very excited about it, I think, because it's what you spend a lot of your time doing. It's who you surround yourself with. It's how people understand you. And then secondly, I think going to things alone is super important. So like I started going to Net Impact, which is the club where I met Ari as COO, because I just like was interested, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know who else is interested right now, but I'm gonna go and see how it is and hopefully meet someone that's also interested, and then we can go to the next one together. So that's, I think, you know, the case for clubs or speaker events or classes, and just sort of, if it's interesting to you, go and you'll find out someone else is who's interested as well, and use that as the next step.
So you're saying taking the risk to go by yourself, and also maybe seeing a different angle on the work that you're already doing, where you are already at. Is there a need there? Joel and Byron, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Just that, you know, when you're a do-gooder, it's not enough to have an idea, even to share that idea. You need to be a champion of those ideas. So I'm talking about public speaking. And we benefit from being strong public speakers and strong conveyors of point. Now, I had the benefit of doing competitive public speaking for about 11 years, all the way from middle school through my senior year of college. But grown-ups can actually do it through Toastmasters organizations. There are chapters either in your organizations or in your communities that help build public speaking. It's specifically targeted toward people who are frightened of public speaking to help you overcome that intimidation. But we have one at ASPCA, we have an ASPCA Toastmasters, and it's a great way if you feel that you are intimidated by public speaking or by championing these ideas. You have to get over that to have impact, and that's a good way to do it.
I always say get through it, right? But yeah,
That's the first step, get through it.
get through it, yeah, then you can
master it.
exactly. Byron, any thoughts from like prior to? I mean, how did you get into Peace Corps? Like, like what actually got you to your passion? And I'd love for you guys to chime in as well. Like, I mean, often when I'm talking to people, maybe you guys are feeling like this in the room. You're not quite. You want to do something good, but you're just not quite sure like what it is that you want to do or how to get there. And again, yeah, you guys have all made extraordinary careers out of it, which is amazing. So how did you land yourself over there?
Yeah, I was looking for opportunity. So for me, what I was doing is looking for an opportunity where I could live in another country, in another culture, and hopefully be supported by whatever that agency or organization was. So what was very important to me was learning a language and keeping up with that language, but also learning about the people, of course, who spoke that language. So with that, I just been looking for opportunities, immersion programs from high school through college. And while I was in college, that's actually how I just found out about Peace Corps. So it wasn't that I had this idea of, oh, I can't wait to do Peace Corps, it's just that I was looking for different organizations that would allow me to be able to live in the community and not just go for a couple of weeks and then come back home. I actually wanted to go away and stay for a while. And just so happened upon Peace Corps. And, years later, I ended up working for the agency. But I think the big part of what it was just looking for opportunity. I knew that, I think kind of in the thinking about the world of doing good in the world, you're going to have different things that you're passionate about at different times. So at that time, still I'm passionate about, learning languages and being part of other cultures, learning more about people. And it just so happens it's a great fit with what I do now professionally.
The nice thing is that one of the benefits of targeting yourself toward these social causes is that it's a smaller world. You're not the person who says, I'll be an interactive marketer for anything. Anyone who will have me and pay me, I'll do it for you, I'll do your brand. So we have this passion. So because we have this limited world which we can target, it enables us to be better at looking for those opportunities. We don't have to be looking at everything. Our keywords can be more specific. And so I found that an advantage as my sense of what I wanted to be got more and more specific, and I think we should take advantage of that. So if you know what your passion is, use those keywords, find those organizations, find those nonprofits, and you have to, it won't fall into your lap. Get out there and make those connections.
And how do you find your passion? I mean, how did you come across it?
I was always interested in animals, but actually, to tell you the truth, when I met my wife, she rescues cats. That's more than a hobby. We have a number of cats.
How many cats do you have?
Well, the rule is that, this was explained to me recently, not to digress, but if you have more than 10 cats, you have 10 cats. So I have 10 cats.
Interesting. You have 10 cats.
I have 10 cats.
Okay. All right. And you live in New Jersey, not
And I live in New Jersey,
Okay.
right. The other rule is, if you don't say the number, if you don't give a number, I learned this at the ASPCA, if you don't give it a number, you're a hoarder. So you have to give a number, but if it's over 10, you say 10. So I have 10 cats. What was the question?
I'm off into a million other.
So that turbocharged my sort of interest in animals. I mean, I think you know it. Not everyone's in touch with what their passion is. Because even out here, well, I asked to know what it's not. I mean, I want to get around, but when I was out there talking to people, I would say, "What's your passion?" They said, "My passion is marketing." And I said, no, what's your passion?
Your vehicle.
Yeah, that's your vehicle, that's your tool. So you grew up liking something. It might be classic television, who knows what it is. But get in touch with that. Or cats.
We're Transformers.
Yes. Very good.
What please call me? It sounds like you want.
Yeah, sure. I think one way to think about it is what pisses you off the most in terms of the nonprofit
That's
space,
good.
right? So,
Or just in general.
just in general, yeah, totally. So is it you're the person in your friend group that if someone throws away that water bottle, you're after them, then okay, maybe that's the environment. For me, it's domestic poverty. I think the way I thought about it is that it affects most every aspect of someone's life. It's I was talking to Shirley and Dina before, it's you can afford your TI-84 calculator to go to math class and be like everyone else. It's how much paid leave your parents get. It's how many jobs they have to work. It's, what determines how you're able to make your college decisions. It determines which colleges you're able to apply for. And so because it is sort of just permeates everything, that's sort of where I got angry. And so that's sort of how I found it.
Any thoughts for you? And I guess that moment in the library was really the one that.
Yeah, I mean, I always was really interested in education. Both my parents were educators, and then I did the literacy training thing in Roxbury. That was really hard. And then I taught preschool for a year. And I found that that was my passion, but that I did not want to do it. Like education was my passion, and I was good at it, but I was like, I can't, there's just too many small people around me all the time. I'm not sure I can do this. I would just like go home so starved for adult conversation. It was making me not an excellent person to be around outside of work. Like I would be excellent at work, and then after work it was like, maybe no one wants to hang out. So I realized quickly, like there's a disconnect. Like I love this and I care deeply about it, but it's not working. So I did other things and decided I was passionate about fiction, which I am still. I love reading, writing, everything. But that was not a passion that was fulfilling anything else. It was making me singularly happy, and that's it. And that didn't make me happy enough. The singularity of that didn't make me happy enough. So then my passion was travel, so I went back to Laos, and that's where I really reconnected it all back together.
Because like for me too, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Then I thought I would be a doctor on TV. And then I was also trying to find my biological family because I was adopted, and so I went across to Southeast Asia without my family's name. Bad idea, but I went to India, and that's the first time that I ran into girls who like me had come from these like really bad backgrounds, and I was like, man, this is not gonna continue on my clock. Like I cannot sit by while this happens. And for me, it was what made me be really angry, and then seeing those girls have their lives restored, and that just gave me so much joy. So I didn't have to be a doctor, is what I'm getting at. You don't have to be you don't necessarily have to be a social worker. You don't necessarily have to be a teacher. But like if there's a place in your world that your heart comes alive and it resonates, push into that. Now we only have a few more minutes on the panel, and two things I wanted to get to. One is, how in the world do you make money doing this? And the second is just any other further comments. You don't, like, at least in my case as well, I didn't have an organization that I could go to that was really fulfilling the needs, so I had to make a few. And that's also a possibility, and similar to you, Leslie. So I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you make money? How do you make a living doing this?
Nonprofits don't pay as bad as people think they pay, I don't think. Or maybe I've just only ever worked in nonprofits, so I like choose not. Yeah, I choose not to know what other people make. Yeah. Like this is great. So yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it just doesn't. It never mattered to me. That stuff doesn't. I make enough to like have my apartment, and so that's all.
So, but you can be a do-gooder and not be destitute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although my husband is in school and he doesn't work, so it's actually kind of near destitute at the moment. But that's him.
Yeah, I think nonprofits do pay. I think people like are often like a little confused that this is like my job. But I think that it's also like it's that sort of trade-off too. I think it's I went to business school. I could have gone a consulting or a finance route, but then I would be very unhappy with my day-to-day. So it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a little less, and it doesn't. It's like not something I'm like particularly okay with. I'm like, why, if I choose this career, does it mean that I am worth less? But I think it's sort of like, okay, I'm happy what I'm doing, like, and I'm excited about it, and I like who I work with, and so that's important.
Yeah. I work for a very large nonprofit.
So you guys aren't volunteers?
Right. No, we're not volunteers.
We were talking about that earlier because you were saying that a lot of people approaching are like, oh, I thought that organization was entirely
volunteer.
volunteer.
They thought it was a little shelter somewhere in New York City. Very large organization. And what I would tell people, and what I have been telling people, it doesn't look, if you spent a day with me, you would think you were at a for-profit company. The only difference is at the end of the day, we're not making money or selling magazines, we're saving lives. And that's pretty cool. But don't assume that just because you're going into nonprofit, you can't make a reasonable amount of money. Don't sell yourself short either. Everyone who came to the table had some specific skill, some specific experience that made them unique. Look for that opportunity, add it to your arsenal of selling yourself, and sell yourself at the right price. You can work in advocacy organizations that are large. You can also work for journalistic organizations that deal with a number of issues. When I worked for Bill Moyers on his television show, we touched on all of these issues, and we all slept well at night knowing we were saving democracy in small ways every single day. So don't go in with a closed mindset. Just see what happens.
Well, so a little bit different with me because I work for the government. So of course, the fact that it's I get a paycheck, I get benefits. I knew all that off the bat, but I also knew that going in, it would be a very different. It would be very different from the other jobs that I've had, where I had jobs that were also state agency programs. So, where they didn't pay very well, but it was definitely a much needed service. And I worked in that sphere as a training and development specialist. So I helped people to gain employable skills who had been in the workforce for a while. But then I also had worked at a couple jobs where I was at one where I was at a nonprofit where it started off really great, and then we lost funding, and then my pay got decreased. So I think it all depends on what you're looking at as far as whether it be government administration, whether it be for-profit, whether it be nonprofit. Is just knowing how much you're worth, but also knowing how much you're willing to put into that organization and that company. I felt that was very important, whether it was a job that paid well or a job that didn't pay as much, was knowing how I felt about that company and what my role would be within that company.
So be flexible and don't do business as usual. Take risks. We have like maybe like a minute. I'm pushing it. I know. 1 minute for like any closing thoughts on like what you wish people knew about like what you do or about the space or.
I would just, as an encouragement, diversify what you can do. So if you're a business person, dabble in social media, learn about that. If you're an editorial person, learn more about video storytelling. Because in your next job, you're able to say, I'm not just the sum total of my resume, but you're going to get all of me. And that's what I say. Like my public speaking consulting, my authorship, everything I do was part of my sales job that I would do when I would interview for a job. But it takes diversifying your experiences to make the best pitch.
I think, just like Joel said, diversify your professional experience, but also your personal interests. I think something that's really helped me to get different jobs and different opportunities is because I, read a lot of different things. I watch a lot of different shows that people might not necessarily think somebody like me would watch or listen to, and that's helped me to have a lot of different conversations with people. Okay. Like when I was in Ukraine, I ended up having a conversation based that was rooted in foreign policy, and where we talked about allocation of tractors for countries that don't have a very high GDP. So talking about that with the people that I worked with in Ukraine, they were like, "Oh my goodness, I thought you only loved hip hop." And so things like that help you to have such a wide array of skills and interests that there's no telling what ways you can relate to somebody who's could generate interest in whatever meet the intersection of wherever their company is and what you like to do.
Ladies, any thoughts?
I think you just say yes to every opportunity. You say yes so that at some point you have to start saying no in your career, at least. Like in my job
there
now.
will come that point.
Yeah.
In my job, a lot of my job is saying no. I think one of the biggest parts of strategy is being able to say no and being able to say like, we don't do this, we do this. But earlier in your career, you can be like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, of course. Sure, I'd love to have that duck blood soup. But no, I don't. I don't want that. But you do it, and then you have this conversation, and then you're there, and you're in the community, and you're like learning more and more about the place that you live. And I think yes, just say yes.
Duck blood soup.
Not recommended.
Okay. Good to know.
I think, sort of just like broadly speaking, I think like reading is super important about the space. I think it's passion is super key, but I think when you're able to speak intelligently and critically about what you're excited about and why you're excited about it and how you can be valuable, I think that's what's really impressive to someone who's looking to hire.
And don't doubt your ingenuity to think of something new. Like when it comes to, like I said earlier, when it comes to addressing these huge issues, if you're like, I have this amazing idea for education that hasn't been done yet, like go for it, research it, and talk to people.